Hello gamers, Cerulean here. I'm bringing you one more guide to Viper. This time we're going to talk about everything. We're also going to talk a little bit about DPS in general. We're going to treat this as if possibly you're brand new to the game, or maybe you're brand new to playing melee DPS in the game for the first time. It was interesting, on my last video there was a comment talking about having played the game for maybe 2,000 hours, so I'm not sure how much I've actually played this game. It's a lot though. But as you can see, I have a few level 100s, but I don't have everything to level 100. The last time I had everything maxed out was at level 50 a long time ago at 2.0. I have played the game every expansion since, but not at any high level. I don't really have an interest in doing savage raids. I like doing the extreme trials just for the hope of getting the mounts, but I don't have all of them, even the old ones, that you can just go farm now. I like playing the game for fun. Obviously, I'm a casual. I'm a boomer, you could say, even. I like to say I'm more like an old god of gaming. I've been playing video games since the early 80s when I was a small child. And whenever this game first came out, I played it, 1.0. I had a collector's edition to the 1.0 version even, and because of that I got invited to the alpha test for 2.0, and it was an incredible game, and so I played 2.0 heavily. But anyway, I like to play the game, every new expansion, and I like to tell my friends and family about it because I think it's a great game. And so a lot of these guides I've made just for them, right? But hopefully everyone likes them. And this time we're going to talk about my favorite class so far is Viper. Now that may be not quite true. My favorite class is probably Samurai. Right? We're not really doing hardly any edits to these things unless something goes awry. And so what we're going to do first is I'm going to hide these extra buttons, right? My row 3 and 4 here, we don't need those. You can hide these by opening up your HUD menu like that and right-clicking on them. I don't know how you do it on controller. If you want to know controller stuff, I don't know what to tell you. I can't do controller stuff. But anyway, we'll right click on them twice to hide them and save that. And don't worry, they'll still have the exact same controls whenever they come back. So Viper is really only these abilities, right? It seems pretty daunting at first. You've probably heard that it's the busiest class or has the highest casts per minute of anything in Final Fantasy XIV, and that's true, but it's actually not hard, right? We only have a couple rotations that we have to deal with, and in fact, this whole second row is only AoE abilities except for one, which is my Reawaken. Reawaken is what starts your strongest set of cooldown abilities. It's a quick rotation that you go through pretty quick, but anyway, we'll get to that. What I want to start with whenever we're doing a deep dive on a class is to talk about how you're going to play the class at different levels, right? Because most of us who play these games, we'll play in the leveling roulette, we'll be doing our dailies. Maybe we'll get thrown in something that's level 50 or 60 or 70 or 80 or 90 or even 100, right? And maybe there's a way, and I don't know how to set my level to level 50 or 60 to just, practice with that. I don't think you can, I guess. I don't know. If you know how to do that, leave a comment. Let me know, because that would be really cool to just be able to say, hey, look, I'm going to set my level to level 50, and these are the abilities you would have at level 50. Anyway, what we're going to talk about are the abilities you do have up to level 50, which is really only these first 5 things here, right? So these are your single target abilities, Steel Fang and Reaving Fangs. And how do the combos work at low levels too? Let's go ahead and look and see. I assume that they are also, right? See, one's level 5, one's level 20. See, none of this matters really, because the lowest level thing is what, 15? The lowest level thing you can queue up for and be level synced to is 15. Well, I suppose you could level sync to like a level 5 Fate. Can you go out to, you know, like a newbie zone and sync to a level 5 Fate? I guess that's the best way to go practice these abilities, right? Is to go out and level sync to them out in the open world. But anyway, these are your combo abilities. So it looks like, you know, if you're going to play Viper, it starts at level 80 anyway. And so you're going to have most of these abilities unlocked. But whenever you're doing roulette, sometimes you don't always have them. And so let's just talk about them from, you know, from the bottom up. So we start with Steel Fangs and Reaving Fangs, right? And these are your single target abilities. And they both have the combos. Now, they do the exact same. So which one should you push? It really doesn't matter. The very first time you do this, neither one's going to be glowing. Just push one or the other, whichever one strikes your fancy, alright? But as soon as you use one of them, you're going to have a combo ability available to you. Either Hunter Sting or Swift Skin Sting. Now these are going to give you a buff, and so only on the first time will both be lit up to you. Once you have a buff running, the second time you roll through here, the other one will be available to you. It doesn't matter which one you start with. It's the exact same two abilities that come up second. And so, we'll get into this, you know, the next time. Since I used number 1 this time, it gives you an ability to use number 2 the second time. But it's interesting because it, like, carries over across your whole combo. And what I mean is, it's a separate buff, right? It gives you a separate buff that gives you a whole minute to cast that other ability. So not only does it give you time to get through your rotation, but it gives you time to get through your rotation and use some of your cooldown abilities for extra damage. We're going to restart this just for a second. So if you didn't see how to reset, you know, a striking dummy, you have to have it targeted. You right click on it and reset striking dummy enmity. And I think that's how you say that word. So now that we know how to start a combo with either Steel Fangs or Reaving Fangs, let's look at our combo abilities. So we have Hunter Sting. What does Hunter Sting actually do? Delivers an attack, 300 potency, not bad. But it gives you a buff that lasts for 40 seconds that increases your damage done by 10%. That's great. And then it tells you the conditions for executing this, right? And so Hunter Sting is only available after you've used Steel Fang or Reaving Fangs. After you one or the other, it'll be available to you. Now, Swift Skin Sting has the exact same conditions. After you use either Steel Fangs or Reaving Fangs, you can use Swift Skin Sting. Swift Skin Sting does the exact same amount of damage as Hunter Sting, but it gives you a different buff. It gives you a haste buff. Typically, in every video game I've ever played, and I assume this is true in 14 today, the haste buff is more important to get up first than the damage buff. And the reason why is that if you get more GCDs overall is better than to have every GCD you get have more potency, typically. I don't know if that's true in Final Fantasy or not, but it's true in most games, and these fights are pretty long, so I would say it's probably true here as well. So the third thing in your combo ends up being either a flank ability or a hind ability. Now, your first time going through, you're going to end up having a hind ability. And if we do this, you'll see. So if we do Steel Fangs, we'll do Hunter Sting. Oh, sorry, it's a flank ability. There you go, I was wrong. And so we're going to have a flank ability first. And obviously, the flank abilities are done on the flank. When you use a flank ability, it will also grant you Death Rattle. We'll go ahead and use Death Rattle. Death Rattle is also off the global cooldown, which I'll explain that in a moment because I know not everybody knows it. But this buff that we originally got from using number 1 the first time is still running, so it gives us an extra on Reaving Fangs this time. So we'll go ahead and hit it. Since I already have Hunter's Instinct, that's why Swift Skins is lit up, so we use that. And this time we have a behind ability, a hind strike. So we'll go ahead and hit that. That gives us Death's Rattle again. Let's pause there, and we're going to go back and look at our abilities. But we need to cancel our enmity with this thing. Okay. So let's look at those flank strikes and hind strikes and see what they're actually all about. So the first time you go through your combo, you'll end up with a flank ability. And both of the flank abilities you would use from the flank. Now, what is the actual difference in them? They both do the exact same amount of potency. The potencies are increased while under the effect of flank's bane venom or flank stung venom. So there we go. That will tell us. That tells us which one we're going to hit. Do we have flank stung venom or flank's bane venom? Okay, so well, how do we get those? Well, we get those from using the hind sting and hind's bane. So essentially, what happens is we're going to just kind of alternate these over time, right? And this is why I have these in my number 1 and 2 abilities here. And so I'm just going to kind of go through these a little bit, and you'll see how they kind of line up and alternate between each other. And we'll ignore everything else on the bar. We're only going to do number 1 and number 2. So we're going to do Steel Fangs, and they're both glowing. Hunter Sting, they're both glowing with a flanking ability, so we'll do the flank. Right? Now we have Reaving Fangs is glowing, so we're going to hit it. The only one glowing is number 2, Swift Skin, so we're going to hit it. Now this time it's number 1, but from behind, Hind Sting Strike. We're going to hit it. The one that's glowing, Steel Fangs. We're going to push it. The one that's glowing is Hunter Sting, so we're going to push it. Now we're back to the flank. Another way to look at this is if it's green, it's on the flank. If it's red, it's from behind. I just stay behind until I need to go to the flank. I go to the flank if it's green. Otherwise, I stay behind it, right? And other than that, you hit the one that glows, right? So number 2, and then number 2. Number 1, number 1, number 1 from the flank. Great. Now we're going to do number 2, number 2, and number 1 from behind. Great. Now we're going to do number 1, and then number 2 from the flank. Okay. Then we're going to do number 2, and then number 2 from behind. And those are the 4 basic combos that are going to be on here. And I'll put a graphic up here, maybe. I'll either put a graphic up here or this part will be cut from the video. Maybe. We'll see. But essentially there's only 4 possible outcomes for that. And if you just do them, you will get all of your buffs that you need to have while playing this class, right? And let me go ahead and use that ability off. And we will do this a little bit more while adding in Serpent's Tail. So what is Serpent's Tail? You'll get to use Serpent's Tail after you have used your third part of the combo. And so the third part of the combo is always the flank or the hind strike, right? And that's the only ones that you have to care about positioning on, right? There are other ones later, but in this combo, right, this is what I'm going to call your basic combo. If I can put a graphic up there, basic combo. I'm getting better at like video editing stuff, and so it's taken me some time to do things that I want to do, but eventually we'll have a graphic up there that says basic combo. And it's really just these 3 buttons, right? You want to make sure that Serpent's Tail is incorporated into it because every third time you want to push it. Okay, so this time I'm only going to say my buttons 1, 2, and 3, right? And so we're going to start with 1. And, you know, I'm not even going to push the buttons. I'm just going to say what they're going to be because I can remember them, and call me out if I'm wrong. But it's going to go 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, and then it'll repeat. Now the 3s are in there, obviously. Now if you want to talk about the flanks and stuff too, right? How it's actually going to go is we're going to go 1, 1, 1 from the flank, 3 off the global cooldown. Then we'll do 2, 2, 1 from the hind, 3 off the global cooldown, 2, 2, 1 from the flank, 3 off the global cooldown, 2, 2, 2 from behind, 3 off the global cooldown. It's that simple. Here we go. 1, 1, 1 from the flank, 3 off the global cooldown, 2, 2, 1 from behind, 3 off the global cooldown, 1, 1, 2 from the flank, 3 off the global cooldown, 2, 2, 2 from behind, 3 off the global cooldown. So, I realize that some people, you know, I said this might be even for new people that haven't really played Final Fantasy or played melee DPS, and they've never had to care about what the flank or the behind is. Okay, so the flank of an enemy obviously is the side, but in behind is behind. But the delimiter in Final Fantasy is specifically that graphic there, that split in the targeting reticule on the ground, right? This space where it's empty is the specific behind of the mob, right? And the flank, I've always just treated it as between the exact side, which is the arrow there, and this space, right? So you have the behind space, and then you have the flank space, right? And I just try to live in the behind space, move to the flank to hit my flank abilities, and then come back. And that usually makes it pretty easy, right? And we'll do this basic combo one more time because you're going to be doing it a lot. We have a lot of abilities as a Viper, a lot of cooldown stuff that we're going to be doing, but you want to make sure you have this one down because it's your filler. When nothing else is going on, this is the thing you're doing, right? And it really is just push the glowing button and be on the flank or behind the mob, but get used to pushing it, right? Because these same buttons are also used in your We Awaken combo. And just like that, we are done with the combo, right? And we've got both of our buffs rolling and we're good to go. Okay, let's talk about some of the other stuff of Viper. Let's talk about the next... Let's reset that. Talk about the next set of abilities, which is our major first set of damage cooldowns, right? And it starts with Vice Winder. Oh, well, let's back up just one set, right? AoEs. So your partner AoEs to these first two abilities are called Steel Maw and Reaving Maw. And they're even easier to understand than the Fang's abilities are. Fangs are single target, Maw are AoE. Now, first, when should you use AoE? AoE, 3 mobs or more is fine. 3 mobs. 2 mobs is not enough. 3 mobs is enough for AoE. Do whatever you want. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's Final Fantasy. There's not really a lot of AoE in raids. Who cares? You're mainly doing this in dungeons. So, you know how to get through a full rotation on single target, you would do, like I said, 1, 1, 1, 1, or sorry, I've already messed it up. My bad. 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, and that's a full rotation, right? On AoE, if we say the same 1, 2s, you're just going to do 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2. That's it. That's why it's so weird for me to explain this, because it really ends up being very easy. Do the chain from Steel Maw 3 times and then hit Serpent Stell. Do the Reaving Maw 3 times and hit Serpent Stell. So 1, 1, 1, 3, 2, 2, 2, 3. It's that easy. That is it for your basic AoE rotation. Basic AoE rotation. 1, 1, 1, 3 off the global cooldown. 2, 2, 2, 3 off the global cooldown. So, now that we've said that, let's move on to our damage cooldown abilities. Now, mind you, these are exactly like those AoEs in that there is an AoE version of these three abilities. And so we'll talk about the single target first, and then we'll go through some of the AoE second. There's really no difference, and that's why I'm going to show it to you, because there isn't a difference between them, and I want to prove it. So when we're talking about our cooldown abilities, it starts with Vicewinder. Now, Vicewinder is going to do a couple things for us. It's going to give us a rattling coil stack, which we haven't talked about those yet. Those go down here. Now, we haven't talked about the gauges yet either. If you ever want to bring your gauges up on a class, like you haven't played it for a while, you're revisiting it, you open up your actions and traits and you look here, display job gauge description, and you can pull this up, and right here we have the Serpent Offerings gauge, and then we have Viper Sight, right? And then we have, upon learning the trait Enhance Viper's Rattle, a third rattling coil can be stored, right? So we get these rattling coils that can be stored here, and that's what these little diamonds are, and they'll turn red when we have a rattling coil stack. Now, whenever we use Vicewinder, we're going to get a rattling coil stack. What does rattling coil do? Well, it lets us cast Uncoiled Fury. What is Uncoiled Fury? Well, Uncoiled Fury, my god, I hope that's not so loud on the video, because it's loud to me. I've got a whole group over here doing stuff. We're going to move down to this striking dummy a little further away and hope that we don't run into as many people doing their own thing. I need to buy a house. I should buy a house. Anyway. Back to Vicewinder. So, Vicewinder is going to grant us Rattling Coil. Rattling Coil will let us cast Uncoiled Fury. Uncoiled Fury is a very strong ability that can be used at range. It also can be used in AoE situations. It also can be used in melee single target situations, because it does more damage than your basic combo. Right? So whenever you can use Uncoiled Fury, you should use it, but what is the actual priority? The actual priority should be Vicewinder if you need your buffs, right? Because when you use Vicewinder, the other thing it gives you is the ability to cast Hunter's Coil and Swiftskin's Coil. And guess what? These give you your damage buff and your haste buff, respectively. But they do something else, and this is where Viper starts to get busy, and this is where people start to struggle with the class, because whenever we use one of these abilities, we're going to actually also unlock two other abilities that can be cast off the global cooldown, both. And if you cast the glowing one, they will do more damage than if you don't cast the glowing one. And if you do it right, you can get both off while you're off the global cooldown, and then hit the other ability and get two more of them off. Furthermore, whenever you cast Uncoiled Fury, it also gives you a Twin Fang and Twin Blood ability to cast off the global cooldown. So let's show some of those real quick. So when we open with, let's back up one more. The last thing I'll talk about is positioning. So Hunter's Coil and Swiftskin's Coil also have positioning. I know they say a lot of stuff on here, but really all these abilities do are things that we've already talked about. Hunter's Coil does more damage from the flank, so we're going to hit it from the flank. It grants you the ability to do, it grants you the buff that we've been looking for, which is our damage buff. Everything else that's said here is better to show than it is to talk about, right? Same thing with Swift-Skin's Coil. It grants you your haste buff, and it needs to be cast from the rear for extra potency. Everything else on here is better to be shown. So I'm going to start from the flank. And so we're going to start with Vicewinder, and then we're going to hit Hunter's Coil, which is going to unlock Twin Fang and Twin Blood, and we're going to hit them in that order for extra damage. Then we're going to hit Swift-Skin's Coil, which will unlock Twin Fang and Twin Blood again, but we're going to hit them in reverse order for more damage. After that's done, we're going to hit Uncoiled Fury, and then again hit Twin Fang and Twin Blood in that order for extra damage. So let's do it real quick. So there's Vicewinder, and here comes Hunter's Coil, Twin Fang, Twin Fang. Oh, I put these on the wrong bar. Let me move these down here. They were on the wrong hot button. Okay, so Twin Fang, Twin Blood. And now we're going to do Swift-Skin's Coil and do Twin Blood and then Twin Fang. Then we're going to do Uncoiled Fury. And again, we're going to do Twin Fang and Twin Blood. Now, I know that was kind of fast, and this is where things start to get, a little murky for a lot of people. Hitting two abilities that are off the global cooldown, I think, is where, kind of the busyness of this class, the thing that a lot of people don't really like about it, might come into play, right? Because there's not a lot of classes that do that. There's Ninja, which is kind of the partner class to Viper, and I'm planning on making a Ninja video pretty soon. Probably the next video that I make should be the Ninja video. I might make a Paladin one as almost a joke, because it looks like Paladin got nothing but adjustments to their existing abilities from level 90 to 100. So anyway, ultimately we're also going to do Black Mage and Red Mage to fill out, because I don't know if I'm going to level Summoner or Scholar. If I do, I'll probably level it as Scholar. I don't know. As you can see, I don't have a huge interest in leveling that class, but we'll get there eventually, right? We'll get there. So anyway, back to the Viper. Hitting the buttons off the global cooldown is really the hard part of the class, right? And so that's the thing you really have to get used to. I'm going to tell you that you should hotkey Twin Fang and Twin Blood to buttons that you can easily reach and easily push at will, right? Now, these look weird probably on my hotbar, but these are actually keybound to two buttons on my mouse. And that's why it's a lot easier for me to just push them. And so whenever I'm looking at other stuff, whenever I hit these buttons that I know activate that, I am just automatically pushing them at this time, right? It's like I don't even think about these two buttons anymore. I just click those two buttons on my mouse after I push the button before them, right? So whenever I hit Hunter's Coil, I just hit Twin Fang and Twin Blood instinctively. Whenever I hit Swift-Skin's Coil, I hit Twin Blood and then Twin Fang instinctively. Whenever I hit Uncoiled Fury, I instinctively hit Twin Fang and Twin Blood. So you've got to get used to doing that as well. And these also activate from these abilities, which are from the AoE. And I said I would show you, so let's go ahead and do that. So the AoE one's called Vice Pit, and then you have Hunter's Den and Swift-Skin's Den. They do the exact same things as their single target equivalents. They just do it in AoE form. Same thing with Twin Fang and Twin Blood. So here we go, right? So there's AoE, there's AoE. Look, they both activate over here. We just hit them, right? We'll go through it again, right? I know that's really fast. We'll just AoE. It's exactly the same. And what's cool about Uncoiled Fury, and the reason why we can get like 3 stacks of it, is you might want to hang on to 1 stack of it in case you get pushed away from the boss due to mechanics. Because away from the boss, it can do full damage from ranged and give you the uptime you might be missing. Okay. So with that said, what's the last thing that we need to talk about? The last thing we need to talk about is the Reawaken combo. And Reawaken's going to basically change your bar for a moment. It's going to make these two abilities turn into the same ability called First. Oh God, now I've forgotten what it's called. Let's bring it out. It's in Actions and Traits, of course. And we'll scroll down to it. It's called First Generation, right? And these two abilities will be called Second Generation. And then these two abilities will be called Third Generation. And then these two abilities will be called Fourth Generation. Serpent's Tail will also change in between. Whenever you cast First Legacy or First Generation, Serpent's Tail will change to First Legacy, and it will be castable off the global cooldown. So it's like an in-between press, right? If you start with First Generation, then Second Generation will be buffed, and then Third Generation will be buffed, and then Fourth Generation will be buffed, and then Ouroboros will be buffed. Ouroboros is the finisher. It is on the same button as Reawaken. So if we think about these as just numbers, right? And I'm just going to use the numbers that I have because I have these key mapped to 1, 2, 5, 6, 3, and Alt 3. And I have my reasons. Don't worry about how I play video games, okay? Like I said, I'm old. And whenever I first started playing MMOs, they were still 2D. So when we start this combo, we start with Alt 3 to activate Reawaken. But then we'll do 1 for First Generation, 3 for First Legacy, 2 for Second Generation, 3 for Second Legacy, 5 for Third Generation, 3 for Third Legacy, 6 for Fourth Generation, 3 for Fourth Legacy, and then Alt 3 again for Ouroboros. Now, we want to make sure that our buffs are rolling before we do Reawaken, and I'll show you why. Let's see how much damage it does with no buffs. Here we go. Boom. Reawaken, First Gen, First Legacy. Second Gen, Second Legacy. Third Gen, Third Legacy. Fourth Gen, Fourth Legacy. And Ouroboros. And Ouroboros hits for 51,529 damage. Back to the video. So now we're going to Reawaken and do our Ouroboros combo. But this time we're going to have our abilities up. Our damage buff and our speed buff up. And so we're going to start, of course, with Vicewinder, and then we're going to do, from the flank because that's where it goes, and then from the rear because that's where it goes, and now we're going to Reawaken, and First Gen, First Legacy, Second Gen, Second Legacy, Third Gen, Third Legacy, Fourth Gen, Fourth Legacy, and Ouroboros, hit for 60,118 that time. The last thing we really need to talk about in this video is Serpent's Ire. And what does Serpent's Ire do for you? Well, it's a cooldown that gives you 1 stack of Uncoiled Fury and the ability to Reawaken. So, whenever you're at the beginning of a fight, it's really important to incorporate it and use it early. It has a long cooldown on, it's a 2-minute cooldown, but a lot of bosses are like 8-minute fights. So, you're going to use it a lot, and Reawaken does your most damage. And so I'm just going to sit here and run through stuff for a while and kind of show you how it is and what I'm doing. So I'm going to call it the Vicewinder rotation, Reawaken rotation, base rotation, and Uncoiled Fury, right? Those are basically what I'm going to call out. I'm not going to say every single ability in between them, probably, but I'm going to say, we're going to open with Vicewinder rotation, and then we're going to hit Serpent's Ire early on, as soon as possible. But after we do one rotation of Vicewinder, we're going to do Uncooled Fury. We're going to deplete Uncooled Fury, and then we're going to hit Reawaken. Right? We're going to do a Reawaken combo, and then we'll do another Vicewinder combo, and then we'll do another Uncooled Fury. And if Vicewinder has a stack back by then, we will do another Vicewinder combo. If Reawaken pops anytime in there, we're going to do a Reawaken combo. And if Reawaken, Vicewinder, and Uncooled Fury are all unavailable to us, we're going to do basic combo. So, here we go. Vicewinder combo. From the flank, right? You hit that number 9 anytime in there from behind. And we'll do the Uncooled Fury, and now we're going to do Reawaken. Right? Gotta get that damage in there. Hopefully I didn't screw it up. I probably did. I may have missed a legacy. That's okay. Uncooled Fury again. And then we're going to go back to Vicewinder. From the flank. From behind. We're going to do a couple more Uncooled Furies. Uncooled Furies, and see Vicewinder is back up right then, right? From the flank. It's time to basically just like that, so that it can be like that, and then Uncooled Fury again. And now we're down to basic, right? So number one from the flank, and 3, and now Reawaken's up. So we're going to Reawaken combo this bitch. 1, 3, 2, 3, 5, 3, 6, 3, and then Ouroboros, and hopefully it crits, and then back to basic combo, right? Because nothing else is up. So basic combo from the flank. Continuing our basic combo. It looks like Vicewinder is coming back pretty quick. Vicewinder is probably going to be back yep, there, Vicewinder. So back to the Vicewinder combo. From the flank. From behind. Uncoiled Fury. Basic combo flank. I love Viper. It's pretty straightforward. I like playing it a lot. I think that they did a really good job with this class. I know in the last video I griped a little bit about the whiners, you know, it being too hard, but I still like it. I think it's a lot of fun, right? And I think this actually does make the class feel a lot more accessible to more people. And it is very straightforward, and I do recommend it to people. It is a lot of fun to play. You should be playing this class, because just look at this. I call this Cerulean Star Mode because it's so big and blue, but it's actually called Reawaken. But who doesn't want to just destroy everything in big flashy blue goodness? Anyway, this is our deep dive on Viper. Now, I hope that if you're thinking about trying melee DPS in Final Fantasy, you give it a shot. These are the basics, of course. I'm not really going to get into anything about like rating or any of their extra roll cooldowns, right? They don't have a lot. It's nothing to be concerned about. Everything is basically self. So if you want to bring your hotbars back, of course, you just bring up your HUD and right click on them twice. You won't see them down here until you click save. These are basically the only cooldowns I use. You have arm's length, which keeps you from getting knocked back. Now, it doesn't work on everything. It works on a lot of stuff. And so it is useful. There's Bloodbath, which I use a lot to heal myself, of course. Converts your damage into health. It's especially helpful in, you know, raids and stuff whenever your healer is dealing with a lot of other crap. Or if one healer is down and, you know, a big damage is going out. This is, you know, a debuff you put on the enemy for big damage to try and, you know, help your raid out or, you know, extreme fight. And second wind, of course, heals yourself. Leg sweep, this stuns the target for 3 seconds. It's rare you actually use this in a lot of settings. I mean, you use it on like boss mobs in Fates. Think of something like that. Like if a boss in a Fate is casting an ability that's not regularly interruptible, well, maybe it's stunnable. So you can stun it And so here's the nullify direction requirements. And so this is actually one that you can put on your bar and actually use for whenever you can't maybe get behind a mob, but you want to get that extra behind damage. That's how, some raid bosses are and stuff. That's for min-maxing. If you're interested in min-maxing, then obviously use it. And then there's this, which is the ranged ability. If you're pushed away from the boss and you don't have any Uncold Fury stacks and you absolutely can't do anything else, you can push this button, you know. And of course, you have your limit break. And the limit break that Vipers do is actually really cool. So, anyway, I hope you guys like this video. Please actually hit the like button. Please subscribe. Please also comment. And I hope you enjoyed this. I know it's a longer video. I'm looking at the record time now. It's at almost 47 minutes of just kind of real time talking about this class, talking about this game. And then I may do more content like this in the future if people actually enjoy it and watch it. So let me know what you think. And I hope you guys have fun. And you gamers enjoy yourselves out there. Bye. If you're still watching the video, then you probably realize I missed a lot of things. Well, there's only two of those things that I missed that I'm actually going to talk about here in the appendix. So if you're still here, thank you for listening. I know the video is very long, but the two things we need to talk about are one, Slither. Slither is your gap closer ability. You have to have something targeted, either a enemy or a person, but you can move to them. It has 3 charges on it, and it has an okay distance, right? It's pretty good. So always use that for the gap closer. But the other thing I did want to talk about that I didn't even touch on had to do with stats and stat priorities, right? So what are your stat priorities on Viper, and what should you go for whenever you're adding your materia in? Well, I'm not going to claim to be a person that knows a lot about stats, and I'm sorry if you hear my dog. He wants to go outside, and we'll go outside as soon as we're done recording this. But when we're looking at our stats, especially whenever I'm looking at like some of the higher end players who have done all of the savage raids and stuff like that, it seems like the most important stat is crit for Viper. And critical hit is both your crit rate and your crit damage. So when you get critical hit, that both increases how often you critical hit and how much damage your crits do. Your next best stat seems to be direct hit rate, but it's so much lower than the rest, right? It's like on the high end people, critical hit is like 2,800 or something, and the direct hit is around where mine is. But their determination is lower, about 100 to 200 points lower than what mine is as well. And so determination doesn't seem to be as important to Viper. And the other thing is skill speed. It's wildly different, right? Depending on what your gear is, from item level 700 to 730 currently. The item level 730 gear inherently seems to give you a lot more skill speed. And so ultimately, what do you care about? Okay, stack crit as much as you can. Let me see if I can bring up a meld menu here real quick. And we'll talk about melding if you want for a moment at the end of this video. And so if you look at like this ring has in it skill speed, 2 skill speed, and why? The reason why is because it already is maxed out on crit, and it didn't have any direct hit, but I had enough direct hit, I think, and so I wanted to try a little bit more skill speed on it to see if it felt better or not. I can't say if it has. It's but the main thing is to max out your crit. So all of these that you see, like this, the weapon has 2 crits in it. This has 2 crits. This has 2 crits. This has a crit in it. This has a direct hit rate. Why? Because its crit was already maxed out. This one has a crit, but it's red. Well, it's red because it did not quite get to use all of the crit. Those are 54 plus crits, but it could only handle 53. That, I think, is still better to lose that one stat and get all of that extra in crit than it is to get that one extra stat in a different stat, because crit seems to be so much more important than the rest for Viper. So it really is just kind of stat crit as much as possible. If you can't put crit on something, put direct hit rate on it, maybe skill speed on it, maybe determination as a last resort. But other than that, have fun. Get out there, farm some of this materia. You can farm a lot of this yourself and put it on your gear yourself. Just by playing the game, you'll eventually spirit bond things. You can see I'm constantly, since all of these are at 1% spirit bond, I've recently extracted materia from them. These two items are pretty close to having extractable again, and so it's a nice passive way to make income, but also keep yourself geared up. Anyway, this is for real the end of the video this time, I promise. I hope you guys had a good one. And don't forget to like and subscribe and all of that stuff that you're supposed to do on YouTube. And we'll see you next time.